and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you to the first Interzoo.digital. We welcome all exhibitors, visitors, and friends of the pet industry live from the Schokopro studio here in Wiesbaden. I'm delighted to welcome all the honorary guests of today, Federal Minister Julia Klöckner, ZZCF President Mr. Holthenrich, Dr. Engling, and Professor Dr. Andrea Beetz, who is the president of the International Association of Pet-Supported Therapy. I am delighted that Interzoo is taking place this year despite the special circumstances. And I am delighted that you are all here to participate in and shape this premiere of digital edition of the world's leading trade fair for the pet industry. I'm really happy to have you here to experience this live situation that is new for us all, and I'm really happy that you are part of this and will help us shape this new experience. Interzoo is a crucial and very important tool. All the different producers show their great ideas in taking care of the pets. It's a barometer of the market, and it supports new companies in entering the pet supply market. The pet industry is an analogous industry. Mostly it's very closely linked to nature and animals, but still we took the step to learn the digital business and to learn it fast. While this year you cannot touch the pet products, touch them directly, test the quality of the products, or actually sniff how things actually smell. However, we would like to invite you to experience this digital experience, this digital event, and to take advantage of the added value that it offers, to set up fast contacts, great networking, and a very close business contact that you can establish and set up. If you would like to share your experiences here at the Interzoo.digital, you can do this under the hashtag Interzoo.digital. Now I'm pleased to introduce the president of the honorary sponsor of the Interzoo. He is standing right next to me, and I warmly welcome the president of the ZZF, the Zentralverband Zoologische Fachbetriebe of Germany. Good morning, Norbert Holthenrich. Good morning. Thank you very much. Dear Minister Klöckner, ladies and gentlemen, dear exhibitors, visitors, association members, and friends of the pet sector. From my side also, I would like to wish you a very good morning. I'm very pleased to have you here at the premiere of the Interzoo.digital. Pantarei. Everything changes, everything flows, nothing remains still. This famous sentence is attributed to the Greek philosopher Heraclitus. What he probably wanted to say is, in the same way water always moves in a stream, all things, creatures, and appearances are always changing. Last year, we experienced changes in a very impressive manner. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there were lockdowns and strict restrictions on contacts in many countries. These also affected business life. In comparison with many other areas of business, the pet sector has come through the crisis in good shape, including Germany. Thanks to political decisions, it was possible to continuously supply pets in this country with the necessary pet supplies. But many companies in our sector had to adjust to people not being able to go shopping as usual. That production and delivery times were lengthened, prices increased, and many meetings took place virtually. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, we had to postpone our Interzoo in Nuremberg twice. we were faced the challenge of repeatedly rethinking in the interest of the sector and taking new paths. What this meant for us in concrete terms at the start of the year was daring to go on the adventure of a digital edition of Interzoo. Our friends from the Bologna Fiere have also shown their agility in this process. We quickly agreed that in postponing our trade fairs and adding digital formats, we wanted to support the sector during the coronavirus pandemic to the best of our ability. I do not regret our decision. With our Interzoo.digital, we are giving over 330 exhibitors from 45 countries the opportunity to present their product innovations to the pet world. Visitors have registered from about 100 countries. The platform offers a wealth of virtual presentations, discussions, and panels. With this, I don't want to suggest that our Interzoo, as a leading global trade fair in the sector, will never take place as usual again, or that I'm not looking forward to shaking all of your hands in person at the Interzoo 2022. I'm still a man who would rather have his fingers touch the aquarium water than to use them to click through the internet. However, I'm also pleased and proud that the CCF and the WCF and the office team have kept moving, and that we also have the opportunity to enhance our trade fair in the long term by adding digital elements. Because the underlying technological challenge will also continue after the coronavirus pandemic, and we as the Interzoo organizers have to set our course accordingly. By registering for Interzoo.digital, you as exhibitors and visitors have also set your course towards digitization. I would like to thank all the exhibitors for their loyalty and trust in our innovative project. Thank you for adjusting to the new situation so pragmatically and flexibly. Global pet keeping is also changing. Habits of living with animals are varying. While 50 years ago, there were still fish aquariums with no water pumps, adjustable heaters, or fluorescent lamps, today aquarists carefully control water parameters on their smartphones. This is a huge change. Animal welfare, environmental, and species protection are values in focus today more than ever before. This will also be visible at Interzoo.digital. The trend towards premium products is gaining momentum. Manufacturers are taking considerations relating to conserving resources ever more seriously. This is also shown by the results of the latest Interzoo sustainability study, which we will be presenting this afternoon on the Interzoo live stage. Furthermore, COVID-19 has changed the status of pets. For many pet owners, their four-legged friends, fish, terrarium animals, and birds were important companions during the crisis. In Germany, demand for dogs has risen above all. Now pets live in almost every second household in this country, and worldwide too. Interest in living with pets continues unbroken. This poses the decisive question of how we deal with this demand. Animal lovers want to do good for their animals. We are responsible for placing pets appropriately, for advising pet owners, and improving the well-being of pets with our products. Properly trained staff are required in specialist pet retail and at breeders. As a professional association, we at ZZF are presenting the Pet Academy founded last year at Interzoo.digital. With this, we train specialist pet retailers in Germany to become good advisors there. If the importance of pets in society continues to grow, the expertise of the pet sector will be in demand. Therefore, we should clearly stand up for animal-friendly and sustainable animal retail and speak out against dubious dealers or farm breeders where the welfare of animals is not put in first place. At the same time, we will get involved in political and specialist discussions with scientific findings. For example, fear of zoonotic diseases has grown due to the coronavirus pandemic. In Europe, there have even been calls for prohibitions in animal retail. We are taking up this issue at Interzoo.digital, for example, in a lecture about the ecological causes of illnesses and epidemics in animal populations. We will experience the extent to which animal issues are also influencing the election campaign in Germany during the podium discussion on the last day of the trade fair. In the run-up to the parliamentary elections in Germany, the CCF will discuss the positions taken towards keeping animals by experts in the German parliamentary parties. You are all cordially invited to take part in this event. And I look forward to hearing what the politicians have in store for us. Many market players have contributed to shaping a high-quality program on our digital platform. We would like to thank all our speakers. In particular, Watch Publications for organizing the Pet Food Forum Europe, Thomas Poschen from petfluencer.com for the sessions on petfluencer marketing, and Euromonitor International for their contributions on pet markets. It will still be possible to call up most of the contents until the end of June. So over the next few days, you can visit all the exhibitors in peace and quiet without worrying that you might miss the wealth of knowledge provided by the experts at the trade fair. First and foremost, I would like to thank the team from the Interzoo organizer WCF, but also our platform operator Corosoft, our sales partner Nürnberg Messe, the studio team of Prof for their support during the organization of the digital Interzoo. Ladies and gentlemen, animal lovers want to do good for their animals. It is our worthwhile task to place pets in an animal-friendly manner and to look after them, because our animals will reward our efforts in 1,000-fold. With that thought, I would like to wish you an exciting and successful stay at the first Interzoo.digital. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Norbert Holthenrich, for this friendly introduction. Interzoo is supported by a trade fair advisory board. This is made up of several representatives of the pet industry. Katharina Engling is now with us, who is a chairwoman of this advisory board. Of course, she also works in the pet industry as authorized signatory and marketing manager at Bunny Tierernährung, a manufacturer of small mammal supplies. Also, she is a member of the CCF board. Katharina Engling, hello. You're here with your dog Lily. She's 13 years old, and Lily is actually the guest of honor here today at the studio, because for pets like Lily, we do this whole thing here. Oh yeah, definitely. And she seems to be very happy to be here. Oh yes, she's totally relaxed. What did you give her before that? Nothing.
A, B, C,
Love,
D, E,
attention,
F, G,
relaxation,
H, I,
a little walk.
J, K,
Yes,
L,
that's
M,
what she needs,
N,
I'm sure.
O, P, Q,
Well,
R,
I mentioned
S,
the advisory board, the trade advisory board.
Alles klar.
What is the task of that trade fair advisory board? Well, you already said it's an advisory body, so to speak, for the organization of the trade fair. And it is set up heterogeneously. There are exhibitors, there are visitors, and it's a great mix to give feedback to the organizers of the trade fair of what the industry is expecting, whatever's new trends are being discussed, And from that advisory board, we give recommendations and discussions. That's what we do. Well, the pet industry is a very nature-oriented industry. We like to be in touch with animals. Animals touch us. Such a virtual industry meeting like the Interzoo.digital, does that go well with that? Well, one thing is clear. We do hope to have a real Interzoo trade fair. We really want to meet again in real life, internationally, everyone, to meet, to get together with that family, to discuss, to sell, to consult, to show the great things that we've been doing in the industry. However, at the moment, this is not possible. And so I think it's great and quite innovative that we can do this in a different way now. We communicate with each other. If we cannot meet in real life, not physical, and not do anything, that's not an option. And I think there's not only black and white and the world can only be this or that. I think because or with the Interzoo Digital, we have a great opportunity to get in touch again. And there is the video chat function. We can actually see each other with that. What are the chances or the opportunities offered to the visitors? Well, I think the platform is really a success. You have a great overview of the broad offers of the exhibitors. You can really go into that and look at things, what's there. And what I think is great is the internationality. This international family of the pet industry gets together here and gives. I have the opportunity to really set up a network here, a big network. Some of us are part of seeing a LinkedIn or whatever, and they're familiar with that. And I can even extend my network with that. And that helps us later when we can meet physically again. We can say, remember, we met or we networked at the Interzoo Digital. We can have a phone call and carry on that connection. And that's what we should do. Let's get back to Lily. Oh, you can see how relaxed she is now. How does Lily benefit from the Interzoo Digital? Pets. What kind of product trends do you see on the market that will enrich the life of animals and pets and people? Well, there's a broad range of things. What I think is that sustainability is a big topic. Let's start with raw materials. Packaging, shipping, regionality. I think that's a big topic. It's a trend topic for the consumers as well. And I think it's important to pay attention to the life situation. Is the animal in? I have a dog that is 13 years old, so I'll rather look at ramps than on sports equipment. So what does the industry have to offer? And I think that's a trend as well, to provide or to accompany the animal from its youth to its old age and life with that animal. With the small mammals as well. Yeah, having a pet is not a static thing. And I saw pictures recently, and the animals of the people lived in the people's living rooms and actually used the pet toilet. We are familiar with this with cats, but not with rabbits. Well, that's my topic when I work at Bonnie. I know a lot about this. We've seen great trends that we picked up, and we said, well, it must be possible to have animals that can be trained to stay in the house, to have it walk around the house without keeping it in a cage. And there's great equipment. So consumers think that's great because that really fits into their homes. And on the other hand, he can really watch the animal, and the animals love it to actually move around the house instead of being in a cage. Well, we already heard that the corona pandemic led to the fact that pets have increased in importance for their owners. You were also affected by the lockdown and also by social distancing. What was the importance of Lily for you during that time? Well, I was among those people who had to be locked away for a certain time, and Lily really was my anchor during that time. We have a routine, and that was really important for me. I speak a lot with my dogs. I used to have two, I just have one now, but I talk to them a lot. And if you cannot meet with people and only you can do this digitally, sure, but the dog is with you, it's next to you. It calms you down. She doesn't contradict you. That's a great thing too. But it helps people. and helps people to have a routine, to set up a routine. She needs to go out. Walking with her did me good. And so she really helped me throughout those 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, it looks like she never goes away from you. And you take her to the office as well, right? Because there are 4 other dogs, sometimes even more. How do you do this? How do you experience this, to have dogs at the office, or animals or pets at the office? How do you organize it that it works? Well, I've been working for Bunny for a real long time. You know that. I started working for them in the 90s, and even at that time, we had dogs at the office, so I'm used to that. But the thing that Jim just mentioned is that's important for all the employees. We give them the opportunity to bring the dogs along. So we have an etiquette for the dogs. There need to be rules. We're not a playground for dogs. So there are really rules because we need to work. We need to be focused during work. But it's really, really nice. The dogs are with us, and Lily is one of the, she has like little spots among the colleagues, and she just walks around from desk to desk, and they say hello and pet her, and she moves on, and then she comes back and lies down. Or we just meet from different departments for a little walk during the lunch break, and that creates an interaction among people who otherwise wouldn't get together during the day. They come with dogs or without dogs for a walk. That's a really nice thing. Thank you very much, Katharina Engling, for this really interesting talk, and thank you very much for the impulses you gave us, because they're really important perhaps for many of those who've just recently become pet owners, and once home office will stop to be an everyday thing and would like to take their dogs with them to the office, I hope that will become a reality for many people. We are now looking towards Berlin, the capital of Germany, and are expecting a word of welcome from Julia Klöckner, Federal Minister of Food and Agriculture. She will officially open Interzoo.digital.
Sehr geehrter Herr Präsident Holthenrich, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren und liebe Gäste. Ich grüße Sie alle sehr herzlich. Besonders die vielen internationalen Gäste, die live nach Deutschland zugeschaltet sind. Und ich bin stolz, dass Deutschland eine so bedeutende Fachmesse erstmals auch digital ausrichtet. Denn als Weltleitmesse für den Heimtierbedarf ist die Interzoo treibende Innovationskraft der Branche.
Dear President Holthenrich, ladies and gentlemen and dear guests, I would like to extend my warmest greetings to you all, especially to the many international guests who have joined us live in Germany. I am proud that Germany is hosting such an important trade show digitally for the first time. After all, as the world's leading trade fair for the pet market, Interzoo is the driving force of innovation in the industry. Pets are important, and that is also reflected by the figures. Last year, there were almost 35 million dogs, cats, small mammals, and pet birds in German households. That is an increase of almost 1 million compared to the previous year. And there was at least one pet in 47%. That means in almost half of all households in Germany. And since the end of last year, my husband and I also have an animal companion. Our Labradoodle, Ella, keeps us busy and healthy. It is fun too. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that buying an animal means having responsibility. And buyers should not support the business of those who do not have animal welfare, but only the money business in mind. The key word here is illegal puppy trade. Unfortunately, dubious suppliers are on the rise, and you know the reports about animals that are discovered on the highway during inspections and have to be nursed back to health in the animal shelter. These puppies are separated from their mother far too early. They are neither dewormed nor provided with important vaccinations. This illegal puppy trade must end. And together with the veterinarians, we have therefore launched a campaign last month to provide information to potential buyers so that they can recognize an animal from dubious trade. There are very clear alarm signals. For example, if information is missing, to the age of the puppies, to the race, or to vaccinations, or that providers appear anonymously or have different races to offer, or that providers offer a delivery or a handover at an arbitrary location. And for that, thank you to all the vets who help us share this information. But to end illegal puppy trade, we all must pull into one direction. This requires uniform industry standards, e.g. detailed information about the animal and its health condition. There needs to be better traceability of animal offers to the sellers. And it needs central research offices to monitor the online trade in animals set up by the federal states, because the individual veterinary offices lack the capacities and the specific digital knowledge. In addition, our ministry has presented a regulation for more animal protection in the pet trade, among other things. So we want to make it more compulsory for staff in the pet trade to undergo training and further education. The aim is to ensure that potential buyers are well advised and well informed. If there are doubts and the sales staff realize that the effort with the animal is underestimated, then advising must also mean that the purchase is discouraged. This also serves the protection of the animals. As you can see, we take action, and these are all measures to do even better justice to our responsibility for our pets. And I wish you all successful and interesting days at the fair, and hereby declare the Digital Interzoo 2021 open. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Towards Berlin, Mrs. Klöckner. Now we want to switch to the English language, and I would like to ask everybody who is listening to the English language to click on the screen, and everybody who wants a German translation to click that button with the small note.
We've already heard it several times this morning. During the pandemic, the interest in pets has increased. But why is that? And what impact did pets have on humans during the crisis? This is an internationally relevant question, and therefore we've asked for an answer Professor Dr. Andrea Beetz. She is president of the International Society of Animal-Assisted Therapy. At the moment, she works as a professor for special education at the IU, International University of Applied Science. But she's done a lot of research on the human-animal bond and animal-assisted therapy and education. And now she explains, on basis of current studies, what influence pets have on our mental health and well-being. I welcome Andrea Beetz.
Hello, Mrs. Schreiber. Thank you so much for the invitation to this event. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of pets and pet owners, we are all under stress due to the pandemic, and we are tired of social distancing and lockdowns. I would like to talk to you today about how pets can support people during the pandemic. Humans are social animals. We need to interact and to connect with others to feel well. But social distancing is the most effective in reducing infections and fatalities related to the COVID-19 virus. Many states worldwide therefore ordered social distancing and even lockdowns for public life. Especially visiting relatives in homes for the elderly or sick relatives in hospitals was and still is restricted. And this poses a lot of stress and leads to despair. Due to the pandemic and the lockdowns, feelings of loneliness, isolation, anxiety, depression, and stress increased, as well as fear of the future due to financial problems, loss of occupation, and more. Many people are afraid to accidentally infect relatives, and many parents are stressed because they have to take care of the kids at home, as well as work in home office, and they are afraid for the education of their children. Overall, the COVID-19 crisis causes a lot of psychological stress for people. Inquiries for appointments with psychotherapists, as myself, have increased by about 40%. And special groups may suffer even more than others, like children, because in the lifetime of a 4-year-old, 2 years, 1.5 years are very long. And even my children ask me, has there ever been a time without the coronavirus? And also pediatricians report a significant increase of psychological and behavioral problems in children and juveniles. Also the elderly, who may not have many years left and would like to be the family and their grandchildren, are affected a lot. Quarantine is an additional stressor. Some people, like teachers and educators, have been quarantined several times. And the stressors there are the fear of being infected or having infected others, the duration of the quarantine, usually 2 weeks, the confinement to their own flat or house, the loss of routines, no social and physical contact, boredom, And the longer the quarantine time, the higher is the risk for post-traumatic stress symptoms. Also financial, not being able to work causes fear of the future for some, and also inadequate supplies during quarantine may be a problem. And even without quarantine, you remember the toilet paper crisis that we had, for instance, in Germany, where everybody was afraid that we would run out of toilet paper. So now let's look at pets during the pandemic. Some researchers already have published studies on effects of pets and on pets during the pandemic, like Morgan and colleagues, who discussed in a paper 2 possible effects of the crisis on pet ownership. On the one side, more pets could have been relinquished to shelters due to fears of possible transmission of the COVID-19 virus by dogs and cats. We now know that's not very likely, or relinquished because of money issues, fears of an uncertain future, and so on. However, actually, we all hear reports that more pets were adopted from shelters and breeders, and at the same time, the abandonment rate did not change from normal times. So overall now we have more pets in households. Data from Germany show that we have about 1 million more pets that were adopted in Germany alone. And that's an increase of 20% of dogs bought from breeders. And overall now every second household nearly has a pet, and in households with children, 66% of households with children also have a pet. The Scopus report from 2020, supported by the AVH and CCF, found that sales numbers from pet food industry have increased by 4.6%. And also equipment for pets increased by 3.5%. Even feed for wild birds increased. So the need of humans to care about pets, about even wild animals, seems to have increased during the crisis. With dog and cat food, especially snacks, treats increased in sales, indicating that interaction with pets is especially important, since this is an expression of the relationship between pet and owner. Morgan and colleagues also report in their inquiry of pet owners in Israel that one reason for this increased interest in dog adoption was social isolation reported by the owners. Data indicated also that the more the quality of life was impaired for the owner, the more the owners thought also that the quality of life of the dogs was impaired due to the pandemic and the lockdowns. They also reported more behavioral problems of the dogs. Overall, also pets suffer possibly during the pandemic. Some owners find it difficult or more difficult to arrange vet visits to take care of the animal. Dog schools were closed, training in groups was not possible, and so also the socialization of dogs with other dogs and training the dog was more difficult, and probably more behavior problems will result from this. Also, cats may not be used so much to visits by strangers in their homes, and all this might affect the human-animal bond negatively in the future. So, if people who feel isolated and lonely adopt a pet, they obviously expect to feel better with a pet as a companion. Overall, today many studies exist that document positive effects of pet ownership and human-animal interactions for humans. Human-animal interactions, for instance, in animal-assisted interventions. Interacting with an animal may reduce psychological and physiological stress, anxiety, loneliness, depression, aggression, and it may promote a positive mood, motivation, trust, social interaction and communication, and relaxation. Obviously, the relationship between pet and owner needs to be a good one, but quality of the relationship may vary, and many pets are considered family members and friends today. Others are rather part of the lifestyle of the owners, but some pets, on the other side, are relinquished just even because travel is possible again, and the next holiday is a reason to put it into a shelter. Many shelters now actually fear a wave of pets coming in when the COVID-19 pandemic is contained and people need to work again in the companies, have no home office anymore, and can travel again. But back to the positive effects. With dogs and horses, people also get more physical activity and they connect more with other people, of course, with a appropriate distancing. During walks or in the stable, they meet other people and they get to talk more. So overall, pets have possible psychological, emotional, physical, and social effects on people, on children, as well as adults, and also the elderly. Several research groups have investigated effects of pet ownership during the lockdowns and the pandemic in general. Bowen and colleagues investigated effects of the lockdown in Spain. They found that quality of life was impaired during the lockdown in Spain, and pets provided substantial support to reduce these negative effects. However, also the pets showed more signs of stress, especially dogs with pre-existing behavioral problems. Shoesmith and colleagues did a study in the UK during the first lockdown, and they found that pets may play an important role as supporters, but they also increased the stress in some owners due to pet health concerns. Martin and colleagues in the UK conducted an online survey of nearly 6,000 people, among them pet owners, and they report that their pet was a source of considerable support as well, but also concerns about practical aspects of providing care for the animal, like vet visits, walks, were indicated. Very interesting finding was that the strength of the human-animal bond did not differ between species, so it wasn't important if it was a cat, a dog, or a guinea pig at home. Poorer mental health before the lockdown was associated with a stronger human-animal bond. So those people who needed more support, they also got most support out of the pet. Animal owners had declined less in mental health during the lockdown than non-animal owners, and they had smaller increases in loneliness. So overall, we have positive effects of pets during the lockdown and the pandemic, and alleviation of stress, and especially for people who have an increase in stressors via the pandemic crisis. So now let's get to how pets can contribute to mental health and well-being in the owners. What are the mechanisms behind that effect? There are many different ways of how pets can support a person. For one, pets can be a distraction. It's good and healthy to not always think and talk about the pandemic and to really focus on the here and now. With animals, we do not feel the need to talk at all sometimes. And with other humans, we always have the tendency and have difficulties to being silent together. And so we always tend to talk about things that keep our mind busy. One of the topics is the pandemic. In psychology, we know, though, that mindfulness-based interventions are very effective, and so they're also very popular. Mindful-based interventions reduce stress and anxiety, and for that, people need to focus on good things, even little ones. And I think that playing with a pet, focusing for a few minutes on the here and now, not think about the past, not think about the future, that is very healthy. Pets can also serve as a model to live life in the moment, at least from time to time. Not having sorrows about tomorrow, not regretting things in the past. And so also here, pets can help people to do that, even if it's just a few minutes per day. And pets give people a sense of purpose. They feel needed, they feel they can have effects via caring, though that increases self-efficacy. They also help us to keep routines. They need to be fed, we need to groom them, walk them. With horses, riding is a point. And also people with pets keep up self-care during lockdown better than non-pet owners. Especially dogs and horses that force you to go outside help you to keep a normal routine. Also, oxytocin effects are very important. Oxytocin is the attachment hormone, the feeling well hormone. And we want physical contact. A colleague of mine in Sweden, Kerstin Moberg, she talks about skin hunger. We want to feel skin, or we want to feel the soft fur of a pet. And this is always easy with a pet. They allow us to cuddle them, the cat, even a guinea pig allows contact. And this petting, we have studies that show that this increases oxytocin, a hormone that regulates an entire system in the body for relaxation and regeneration. And finally, research cannot really capture this nicely. Animals can be a lot of fun, even during work and home office, during online conferences. Seeing a cat walk in front of the screen, hear a dog bark in the background, or see him playing in the background, this is a distraction for everybody. And I think it's a positive distraction. It's nice for the others that sit in front of the screen, and the pets support the working owner when they just cuddle up during the work and help us relax. So overall, I think pets are great support for the owners during the pandemic, especially during lockdown or quarantine. Especially owners with more stressors will benefit more from their pet. But the pandemic also affects pets, and we will see if the increase in pet ownership will be stable, hopefully. However, I'm confident that those owners who do establish a real bond with a pet will have positive effects, and that we are all in this together. Thank you very much for your attention.
Andrea Beetz, thank you very much for these insights.
You're welcome.
My question is, to what extent is there evidence in research that the impact of pets on humans depends on certain factors, such as communication between humans and animals, or responsible pet ownership, and so on?
Well, we have some evidence from research that, for instance, stress regulation via pet interaction depends really on an active human-animal interaction, not just pet ownership. You need to pet, cuddle the animal. For instance, we have research with dogs, and the relationship needs to be a good one, and you need to have, the effect is stronger if you know the animal well. And with a dog that you pet, you get a peak of oxytocin release, this feeling well hormone, for instance. But if you have a very good relationship, a strong attachment, even the eye contact with your dog can have these positive effects of oxytocin release. However, frequently, not a lot of data on the quality of the relationship exists, because people who tend to take care in research usually have a positive, a very good and close human-pet relationship, or they describe it as quite good. So it's difficult to do research on this. Also, the voluntary participation leads to a bias. But we see in some areas that even though, if you look objectively, and the dog might be stressed, for instance, in a school setting, that the children still report that they profit a lot from the dog, that they love school more when the dog is present. Just from an animal behavior side, you would say, oh, there are some indications of stress. So we humans are also very good in ignoring stressors in pets and still profiting from the pet presence. But I think in the long term, this also will have negative effects on the relationship and positive effects. So we always, or the research that I work with, we always point out the relationship needs to be a good one. The pet needs to be well taken care of. It needs to feel well in a situation. Only then you get really long-lasting positive effects, and it's also a positive interaction for the animal then.
And do we sufficiently take into account the healing effect of pets on humans in our health systems?
I think not yet, unfortunately. At the moment, animal-assisted interventions, for instance, where therapists work with animals in a therapeutic setting, this is usually financed via donations, at least the additional cost that's causing it. So, for instance, you get paid as a physiotherapist in a normal honorarium for your physiotherapy session, but the additional costs due to employing a horse in the setting or a dog, this is not covered by the health insurances. So the public health system allows the integration of animals into therapy, but they do not support it. Additionally, this is only made via donations. And for instance, therapeutic riding is very expensive. The cost for keeping the horse, keeping it healthy, and even during retirement, you need to train it. and also dogs cost quite a bit, and you cannot employ an animal for 40 hours a week like you employ a human. Most animals cannot work with more clients than 2 or 3 clients per day, and even not 5 days per week. So yeah, the costs are something that you need to take into account, but most people who work with animals in their profession, they love to do that, and they believe in the positive effects, and that's why we still have enough animal-assisted interventions.
So there's still a lot of work to do, but anyway, attitudes towards animals are changing. More and more people become vegetarians. Pet owners no longer objectify their pets in the same way as they did maybe 100 years ago. Animal welfare, species protection have a new status. So what do you think could the pet industry contribute so that we develop a good coexistence between humans and animals worldwide?
Well, I think that's a very complex question, but let's start in the little things, like you're providing owners with a variety of healthy nutrition for the pets, who are also all individuals, and everybody has a different need. Also, the pets have different needs. If you provide good toys for interactions, things that make life with a pet easier, like taking food or water with you for long walks, also keeping the pet well cared for and entertained. I think this helps, that there's much more things available now to do that, you know, to keep the pet busy and the mind active. But also, as the pet food industry or pet supply industry does already, they support research on the positive effects of animals and humans at the moment, mainly. But we think that if more people are aware of the positive effects, that also hopefully helps to establish valuing the pets and the individuals more, and the role that the pet plays in the life of many owners, so that this is more prominent. And supporting pets or sources of pets that focus on pet health, animal well-being, and not just money. So all these puppy mills. So if we do things, inform the public where to get a pet from a reliant, a good source. This is also important. Who know the needs of the species. So, you know, to just take care and inform people as well about how to take care of a pet in an appropriate way, and where to get a pet, and maybe even to encourage waiting instead of getting a dog from a puppy mill and producing 10 more that are not maybe sold, and wait and get the pet from a good source where the pet is healthy and well taken care of.
Let's take a look into the future. Do you think that as digitization progresses, that it will become more important to revive the contact with animals or with pets?
Yes, definitely. I think many of us, we spend so many hours in front of our screens. I personally am quite happy with home office and not having to travel so much anymore. But we need to go outside. We need to go outside into the nature and to connect with animals, not just pets, but also wild animals, to listen to birds again in the forest. This is important for us humans, to keep us mentally healthy and stable. And pets that we bring into our homes and into our lives, they help to balance our social lives. Even if we now cannot meet so many friends at the moment, we do have our pet at home. It's always there. It gives us a source of interaction, and many people now admit it's a real social companion. It's a friend, it's a family member. If you ask children, the pet is always a family member. And this contrast between a real living individual in front of you instead of a screen, that's, I think, is so important during these times, and even with more increase in digitalization. The pet is a way to connect again with nature, even if it's in our home. And many pets companion animals like horses, dogs, they force us to go outside and to be outside and not just sit in front of our screens and iPhones and other phones. So I think, yeah, pets will become more important, and reviving contact between animals and humans is very important to provide places where this can happen for people who do not or cannot have pets because of travel and work and other things that they need to take care of. So having places where you can actually go pet an animal, having an interaction with a llama, a horse, that would be very helpful, I think, for mental health in the long term.
Andrea Beetz, thank you very much for this very interesting interview.
Thank you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank all speakers for their inspiring speeches this morning. Federal Minister Julia Klöckner, ZZF President Norbert Holthenrich, Katharina Engling, the Chairwoman of the Advisory Board, and Professor Dr. Andrea Beetz. I hope that this opening aroused your curiosity about Interzoo.digital. Take the advantage and have a look at our exhibitors and network. You'll find all exhibitors in our showroom section. And we also would like to invite to our program experts talk about current issues and future challenges, and you can discuss them with other professionals. On this stage, the press conference will take place at 11:30. And this afternoon, you will find here the sustainability session. And tonight, it's Curtain Up. We show for the first time a film about the ornamental fishing in the Amazon, and for the first time with German subtitles. And now I wish you a wonderful day. I wish you a successful participation in Interzoo.digital, and let's meet on the platform.